Hi friends, welcome back. We're going to be talking about example 1. Use the diagram to decide whether each statement is true or false and then give a reason. So here I said measure of angle 1 equals 47 degrees, then the measure of angle 2 has to equal 43 degrees. Before we go through and actually write on this, I want you to know that I am using erasable pens. So that means that what I write, I will be able to erase. I would recommend you following along to use some sort of erasable tool as well. Otherwise, it'll be really difficult to see as we continue on. So if the measure of angle 1 is 47 degrees, that means that the measure, and then it's saying measure of angle 2 has to be 43 degrees. I know by looking at these two that angle 1 and angle 2 form a linear pair. So if they form a linear pair, that means that angle 1 and angle 2 have to add up to be 180 degrees. So grabbing my calculator and checking 47 degrees plus 43 degrees, so 47 plus 43, I get 90. 90 is not 180, so this is false. These angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair. And so in this case, it should add up to be 180 instead of 90. So now that I'm done with my work for number 1, I'm going to go ahead and erase, erase, erase. Now I'm going to go ahead and show now my work in a different color for part 2. So if the measure, this says the measure of angle 1 is 47 degrees, and then the measure of angle 3 is 47 degrees. Well, I know angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. I know that because I can see that angle 1 and angle 3 are opposite from each other. As I draw my line, I can see angle 1 and angle 3 are opposite from one another. Vertical angles are congruent, so true. And then it wants a reason why. Well, if I go back to my previous page of notes, we talked about the vertical angle theorem, and all vertical angles are congruent. So I know that they're vertical angles. Angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. Again, erasing so that I can use a different color for the next one. So now for the next one, measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3 is equal to the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 4. Visually looking at this, I can see that measure of angle 1 and measure of angle 3 are vertical angles, and the measure of angle 4 and measure of angle 2 are vertical angles, but that just means that these two are congruent to one another, and these two are congruent to one another. In fact, it doesn't mean anything else other than that. So if I had values for these, if I add these two together, the only way that it's going to equal the measure of angle 2 and the measure of angle 4 is if they all happen to be the same value, if they all happen to be 90 degrees. So because it's not always true, and it's not true in this scenario, we're going to say false. And the reason it's false is that it doesn't actually satisfy any of the theorems that we know about so far. So it's not a linear pair or vertical angles or congruent or supplement. So, or complementary. Oh, or complementary. So there's a lot of reasons why it's not true. The opposite of this, though, 4 actually takes a different approach to this entirely. And what 4 is saying the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 4, so this makes a linear pair, is equal to the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3. That's also a linear pair. So this is true, and it's true because these sum up to be a linear pair, and so do the others. So true, and then this is our linear pair theorem from the front page. So because of linear pair theorem. All right, join me in the next video as we hit example 2.